Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unit 13. We are really hitting the home stretch of the semester. This unit is really about retaining clients, marketing, and getting new clients. But you'll see through the PowerPoint and the discussion board and this week's homework assignment that in the discussions of retaining clients and finding new clients, a lot of that really needs to be focused on the specific conduct that we in a law office have to abide by when it comes to advertising, marketing, and soliciting new clients. There's actually quite a few rules of ethical responsibility related to attorney advertising. So I'm going to focus on that in this PowerPoint, in addition to a couple of other themes. I'm also going to link you to the current Massachusetts rules of ethical responsibility and professional responsibility on advertising so you can read them for yourselves. Okay. So let's talk about clients. Clients. So I say it this way because the truth is, without clients, we would not be in business. So I know we don't often think of lawyers and law offices being in a field of customer service, but to a large extent we are because we exist by reputation. A lot of our clients, depending on the industry that we're in, will bring us repeat business if they are happy with the work that they are doing. We also obtain a lot of new clients largely from referrals. People ask friends and family members all the time for attorney referrals. And so don't underestimate the power of our reputation. And a lot of that boils down to how we treat our existing clients, not so much the new clients, but the existing clients. So what does that mean for existing clients? What it really means is customer and client satisfaction. I know this actually refers back to some of the themes we talked about earlier this semester with communicating with clients, keeping clients updated. To a large extent, the role of the paralegal is even greater than the attorney for keeping the client updated. And so I just wanted to return to that point that we talked about earlier in the semester. Yes, it's true that your billable hour rate is lower. And so that might be one of the reasons that you are being asked to connect with the client, update the client. But it also gives you an opportunity to make that connection, that personable connection with the client where they feel that you are a trusted person and therefore the law firm is a trusted place to be. So what does that mean? It means returning phone calls, returning emails, updating clients on a regular basis. Something else we've talked about throughout the semester and just in your other classes in general is how long the law can take to move through a court case or obtain a result for a client. So sometimes clients don't understand that months can go by before we hear a decision from the court. And that's true in many fields. So just keeping clients updated, letting them know that they have not been forgotten about. We know how busy law firm life gets. We know how busy our client matters get. And we never want to take that one client who might not have a deadline coming up for 6 months or 9 months and put them permanently on the back burner to the point where they feel like I've been forgotten about. So even just quick updates, even if the update is just, I know you have stuff going on, this is where we are, just a quick status update goes a long way to client satisfaction and therefore customer satisfaction. I know this one also sounds silly, but know the client's name, know how to correctly spell the client's name and pronounce the client's name. Show an interest in their life. Get to know them, get to know maybe their family members, maybe their hobbies. That might not always be possible, but when you feel that connection building, hold on to it because that's where relationships are built and that's what brings our clients back for repeat business if they need it. And that's what brings us referrals from new or potential clients. I mentioned surveys up here because I know it's also mentioned in your book. I don't know how many law firms really undertake doing client satisfaction surveys, but it's certainly something to think about as a way to get feedback on how we are doing in the profession of the law. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about new clients and how to obtain those clients that are not yet out there. Because, and I see that I have some typos on this slide, so sorry about that. I'll fix that before it's uploaded. It should not say ambulance. It should say ambulance chasing, marketing, advertising, and solicitation. So sorry about that. But so I put this up there because I was thinking that, attorneys don't have great reputations. There's an awful lot of jokes that are about attorneys or attorney at the attorney's expense. And there's that old saying about the ambulance chasers, that someone's, an attorney's literally chasing the ambulance on the way to the hospital in order to get a client. And that's not a really good image. So we're going to try to put that to bed and talk about more positive, legal, and constructive ways to obtain new clients. So we'll talk about marketing, advertising, and we'll talk about something called solicitation, because each one of these actually means something different. Okay, let's first talk about advertising. And again, you may not know this about me, but I don't have a business degree. I don't have a background in marketing or something in that realm, but I want to set forth some of the basics about what we mean by advertising, marketing, and solicitation. So advertising, we're talking about lawyer communications or firm communications that go out to the universe as a whole and communicate about what kind of services this law office offers. So it's not what we'll talk about in a minute in terms of a direct contact with a specific individual. An advertisement goes out to everyone equally. So some traditional methods we can think about would be like a mailer or a flyer that comes in your mail. In the olden days, we used to talk, you could open the phone book and sometimes you'd see printed advertisements in the phone book. What about printed advertisements in magazines, newspapers, websites, or even search engine searches? Like if you go to Google and you look for, family law lawyer near me, and a law firm pops up. These are all traditional methods of advertising that reach communities or populations equally across the board. So that is one way that attorneys can advertise. You will see through your homework this week and through an article I linked you to read some really important rules pertaining to how and when attorneys can advertise. They actually used to be more restrictive, but the Massachusetts rules were amended 5 or 6 years ago to be a little bit more modernized. We actually used to have to keep copies of advertisements for a certain period of time. Massachusetts has done away with that rule, but we still have to be really careful in our advertisements about two things: to be no false statements and nothing misleading. So, for example, an attorney should not be putting in their advertisement that they are the best at something, or they have the winningest record in their jurisdiction, because A, probably not true, and B, can certainly be misleading to a potential client. What about referrals? We actually get, a lot of law firms get clients through referrals. It might be a colleague, could have been someone they went to law school with, somebody that they know personally or professionally in another context. There are, and I'll just have you take a look at them, some specific rules pertaining to attorney referrals and when an attorney can provide a referral and whether they're allowed to take a fee in association with that. So we'll take a look at those also. Okay, now I want to define, and I hate slides with a lot of text on it, but I did not want to shortchange how important this distinction is between advertisements and solicitation. Advertisements, thumbs up, attorneys can advertise so long as it's not false, misleading information. But solicitation is the real problem. Attorneys cannot solicit specific clients. And what we mean here is that targeted communication initiated by the lawyer that is directed at a specific person. So for example, I'm an attorney, I find out that somebody in my neighborhood has been fired from a job or in a car accident or going through a potential divorce. And I think I want that person's business. So I call her up directly, or I send them an email directly from me, or I send a letter in the mail directly from me to this neighbor of mine saying, I'm a lawyer, I can handle divorces, or I can handle employment discrimination cases, you should hire me. That is a real problem. So I want you to pause for a second and think about why that is. Think about the unequalness in the relationship between the lawyer who is sophisticated and educated in the law and this potential client that has a legal problem, and not always, but could potentially be in a vulnerable situation. And we don't want a situation where the lawyer is taking advantage of that. And so the rules are very clear about prohibiting solicitation. However, advertisement is permitted. So if you haven't done so already, when we're done with the video, take a look at these rules related to advertisement and solicitation, and do read the comments in them as well. Not comments from the public, but comments from the draft, the rules themselves, which explain some of the examples of what is and is not permitted. Last, specific rules about specialization. We've spent some time in this class, especially over the last few weeks, thinking about fields of law that might be interesting to go to work in. Maybe some of you already know that you're super interested in one area of law, like intellectual property or estate planning or criminal law. Lawyers very often specialize in an area of law. So there is literally an entire rule devoted to how and when attorneys can, let's say, on their website, identify the different practice areas of that firm. Is it permitted for a law firm to say that they practice in estate planning? Yes, it is. Actually, all law firms list the practice areas in which they focus. That's a good thing. It helps educate us. If you're looking for a lawyer, we know what kind of law is practiced. But attorneys have to be really careful if they hold themselves out as being a specialist, meaning like an expert in the field, to say that I am a specialist in the area of divorce or a specialist in the area of estate planning. So again, specialization is permitted as part of advertising, but attorneys need to be careful to not represent, if anything, nothing false or misleading, same thing as the other rule. And they can list different certifications or professional memberships or associations that they might be a part of, but that of course needs to be accurately represented on the website. As part of your homework, you actually are going to be asked to look at some attorney websites, and I want you to look for this designation. See if you can find this if some attorneys hold themselves out as an expert in a certain field. Again, it is permitted, but must comply with the rules of professional responsibility. Last, but certainly not least, and this is important for you to know because paralegals draft a lot of letterhead, is the letterhead from a law firm itself must not contain any false or misleading information. One of the biggest mistakes that attorneys do in terms of letterhead is misrepresent the jurisdictions where their attorneys are legally permitted to practice law. Many law firms have locations in multiple jurisdictions, not just state by state. I mean, like state to other states. Maybe the attorney is a member of the bar in both Massachusetts and New Hampshire and has offices in both. Some law firms have offices in multiple states and even other countries. So there are specific rules about making sure that if the firm letterhead lists attorneys' names, indicating in which jurisdictions they're permitted to practice, so as not to mislead a client that their attorney is a member of a bar when they're not. In Massachusetts, we also have a special designation related to attorneys who work for a law firm but might hold public office. Again, that can lead to misrepresentation. So take a look at the specific rules that I put on Blackboard for you. I look forward to our discussion on the discussion board. I've reserved information about social media to that because I personally think this is such a fast-moving, fascinating area, is the ability to use social media to our advantage, which is to find clients. But of course, we need to be mindful of the not false not misleading guidelines. And I look forward to reading your homework assignments, discussing what you find out there on different attorneys' websites. Have a great week, everyone.